and welcome to the 135th episode of the Stateside Soccer Show. My name is Jordan Wiegand, and with me today is a man who was not with me last week. It's Logan Stubb.
I think at this point, Jordan, we're like close to the Simpsons now. Like that's how long we've been going.
They're at like 700 episodes.
Like it's 7 decades. Seems like we've been on it forever.
3 decades. But yeah, how many episodes is that? That's what I have to look up real quick. Hold on. 728. So
That's
we
insane.
got a bit until we get there.
We're closing the gap though.
But if we do, episodes for each team again every single season, I think we can get there pretty quick. And we'll be doing World Cup coverage later in the year. That'll be probably more than once a week. So we'll get there. And next year, we'll probably be doing 2 episodes a week with the new schedule. So we can surpass The Simpsons in half the time, I think.
Yeah, I was going to say, I think with World Cup, because we're going to do every single team, every player. We're going to profile every player on
every 26-man roster.
10 fans. Like, we're going to have fans on. So, it'll be November when we pass the.
I just can't imagine the work we would have to do to profile every player of a 26-man squad.
There would become a point where they're just like
teams times 26. That's too much.
Wouldn't there be a time you'd just be like, all right, he's a striker. That's really all you need to know.
Just release 5-minute episodes to get us over that line.
Yeah, honestly. I mean, hey, let's do it. We'd be the only podcast to do it, Jordan.
No. Just to be the only one is not enough reason to put that much stress on us. But no, I am. I'm glad you're back, Logan.
I'm glad you're back. I mean, you were here, but I'm just glad you're back.
Yeah, I went to Williamsport, Pennsylvania. That was fun.
Yeah, that looked like fun, like the Little League World Series for those that don't know. But yeah, Jordan, I mean, you got pictures with some Baltimore Orioles. Looks like you had some sunburn. At least Joy did.
Yeah, Joy did. Yep,
so
she
that was on Facebook. Yeah. So that's the worst. Baseball tans are the worst. Like sitting in stands because it's on the knee, like it's at a weird spot on your legs, and it's just like you're just getting cooked.
Yeah, and she had, we sat in an area that had the sun kind of on us because we couldn't get to the shade side, so that was a problem. But it was a fun day trip. So I mean, I'm 2-day trip. I missed a lot of the games this week. But if anybody listened to last week, I said, hey, game of the week. My pick is Seattle LA Galaxy, and that was a good choice. I finished 3-3. We'll talk a little bit about that later on. So I did a good job there on picking the game. So but we're going to start with some news and storylines and what we've been doing recently, starting with the Americans abroad. And just kind of check in on that because usually once we get started on the league stuff, we could, talk for hours. So to make sure we get to this stuff, we're going to front load it here is how we've been doing that. So, Jesse Marsch, Logan, gets a big win over Chelsea, a 3-0 victory. Tyler Adams and Aaronson both started that match. Aaronson scored, pressuring Mendy, getting the ball. Adams won the fan vote player of the match. So out of the 3 games, Tyler Adams and Aaronson have both won fan votes of the match. Everybody was kind of skeptical about Tyler Adams going there, and he's got I think the most completed passes or whatever. He's second, I think, in the first 3 games here, and Aaronson has some of the most pressures. They're fitting in pretty well here. And the other side of things, Pulisic got around 25 minutes after they're already 2-0 down. He's got no move in sight. There's been no official offer from United. That was the rumor before. And we had some news from Florian Plettenberg yesterday that he's been told it is likely that Pulisic will stay at Chelsea. No swap deals planned at this stage. No offer from United on the table. and they're going for Anthony, who is a striker for Everton. They're going to pay like 70 mil for this kid that has like 3 goals and 2 assists and so many thousand minutes of professional ball, which is just insane to me the way that these prices are going. But anyway, what are your thoughts on that big Leeds 3-0 victory over Chelsea and the 3 Americans on Leeds side?
Yeah, so I mean, if the season ended today, Jordan, and I know it's only been 3 games, Leeds United would be finishing third. But it is amazing that this team last year, Jordan, we were talking about how like they were probably going to get relegated, and it was going to be kind of tough because the Brendan Aaronson thing had been rumored for some time. Tyler Adams was kind of thrown out there as well, and we thought maybe they would end up in championship football before World Cup. And while we weren't like completely destroyed by it, it was still kind of concerning because we're like, these are guys that we really need to kind of become. We thought Brendan Aaronson, a bench player, depth, and then Tyler Adams, our starting number 6. Like we needed guys to kind of fill into these spots and kind of play professional soccer at a highly competitive level. Otherwise, I mean, these guys are playing second-tier teams and maybe not ready for the big stage when it came November. But now, I mean, you're seeing that Brendan Aaronson's turned into like I would say, Jordan, he's been the most impressive player in the Premier League to start the year. And that's not just an exaggeration. Like if you look at the things that he has done and the chaos that he has caused for some of these big teams, I think that it's pretty accurate in saying like he's definitely top 3 if you're picking players right now as far as how good their season has started. I mean, he's come out with a bang, and his pressure is exactly what Greg is going to need for this U.S. men's national team side because they're going to use, I know, a lot of their legs, and they do have a lot of depth, so they're going to be able to press people quite a bit, and that's kind of his ball, is just pressuring and then kind of keeping control of the ball and just wear the opponent out. And then you have Tyler Adams, who's been one of the most impressive, like you said, and his best game was on Saturday, I think. That he played, or was it Sunday? I can't remember. I think it's Saturday. But I think with Brendan playing as well as he is, and the confidence that he is getting playing in the Premier League, and then also you've got Tyler Adams, who really didn't need that confidence boost, but is getting it because of how well he's playing against the top level talent that he is. I mean, this is huge for the U.S. men's national team. Now, I think it's about getting Christian in a place where he can thrive, and it's not with Chelsea. It seems that Tuchel, I mean, you sent me the article where it says Tuchel's pretty much fallen out of, Pulisic's fallen out of favor with Tuchel. Like it was just not going well. And so I don't know, that kind of bums me out. But then again, like, I mean, now we're talking about Brendan Aaronson, and it's going to get into the conversation of like Brendan's playing well enough to where he deserves a starting 11 spot. It's just like, where do you put him? If you've got Gio Reyna, if you've got Timothy Weah, if you got CP10, like where does he kind of fit into that role? And while he is younger than all of them and his time is coming, it's just right now he's one of our best players. So it's exciting. We're going to have a good problem depth, I think, on the wings. So looking forward to World Cup stuff because I think we're pretty damn deep.
Yeah, there was a fan account here on Twitter named after Todd Bowley. It's got Pulisic as the profile picture and cover photo. So I'm not sure if they are American or just Chelsea. It looks like maybe Chelsea American fans. I don't know. But here's a stat for you. I mean, I don't think he was ever really in favor with Tuchel at this point.
Right.
Last season, Pulisic started 3 matches in a row. He had 2 goals, 1 assist. He was then benched for 2 games. Then started the next and had another goal. And they said, this is pure abuse from Tuchel. They think they have an agenda, whatever. That may not be true. But the issue being, right, is that even when he does go out and score, he gets benched immediately again.
Yeah.
There's no consistency. All of their players. Ziyech went on a tear in January, gets benched, and then they can't find the offense. This Chelsea team's attack has been really bad. Pulisic still hasn't started out of the 3 games. He comes in once last week with 7 minutes. He comes in this game for 25. They're already down 2-0. It's like, what am I going to do? to come in down 2-0 and try to make this turn around here. So it's really rough for Pulisic, and you know, his dad was going off again, liking a whole bunch of tweets, and you know, Chelsea fans were upset about that. It's like,
what do you want him to do at this
even
point?
then, his dad, you can't control your dad,
right?
You know what I'm saying? I'm
He's
sure
a
my
fan.
dad would be
Right.
liking tweets about me if I wasn't getting playing time, even if I didn't condone him doing that.
Right.
So it just is kind of what it is. And when we let's go back to Aaronson, like you said, he's got to be in the starting 11 for the U.S. men's national team. The fact that everybody thought he was going to struggle at Leeds, that he was going to get bumped off the ball easily. He does this nice move against Kubali, right? On Sunday's game. He's got to start. And I understand Pulisic might have more talent, but if he doesn't get in, you can start Aaronson over Pulisic. If Pulisic's not going to be playing games regularly, that's going to be an issue. Weah, even if Weah's not injured, which I think he is right now, and he is a lot, I could see Aaronson above Weah, honestly. He's doing it at a whole different level than what this should be his second goal, by the way. That first week, it does hit off his shin. They still call it a own goal, but this would be like Brendan Aaronson's second goal, and he forced Mendy into an error in getting that in. People overrate Mendy as one of the best goalkeepers in the world. So the fact that he's doing that at this type of level is great. Same thing with Tyler Adams, which a lot of people thought he wasn't going to fit in the Premier League. And remember, a whole bunch of U.S. men Twitter was like, he's got to stop following Marsh around. He's not going to do well there. And he's getting so much praise from the Leeds podcasts, message boards, all that kind of stuff. Both of those players and Jesse are getting kudos. And when you look at it from the other side, I know we're not a Premier League podcast right now, but Tuchel has to do something about the attack. And actually, I think the longer this putrid attack happens and he continues to throw Mount and Havertz out there, even though they do nothing every week, it's going to become an issue where he could theoretically be let go. I don't know how quick Todd Bowley is on the trigger fingers like Roman was, but you know, they're going out and they're going to spend another like 70 million on a striker. They're going to go out and spend some more money. If the attack doesn't improve, it's because of the way Tuchel plays, right? With wing backs and stuff. It's just not very conducive to how their wingers are. So it's going to be an issue. Pulisic probably not going anywhere, and he's going to be in probably some really bad form until we get into the World Cup buildup. And hopefully it just keeps him healthy that he's not playing, I guess, is really the only plus side of that. Chris Richards started a game as well for Crystal Palace this week. So that's been pretty good. He's getting playing time. That's awesome. So before we move on to some MLS news, I want to get your thoughts on these World Cup kits, Logan, because these leaks, I shared my thoughts last week. I want to get your thoughts on the air. We've kind of talked about it off air, but I want to kind of get your thoughts and maybe some deeper thoughts since we're not like texting, we're actually talking.
Yeah, we don't actually talk normally in real life. So like this is always confusing to me. But when he alludes to the fact that we've been texting, I don't remember what he's talking about. But no, they're awful. They're horrendous. They're templates. They're practice kits at best, Jordan. Like this is the same template that they've used. I think it was last year for training kits. Like this thing is just I just don't get it. Like I think they had such pushback on an original leak that they went, okay, well, that didn't work very well. So let's try these kits. That didn't work well. And these are going to be the kits. Like the way that the picture had them laid out, like whoever took this picture, like the final one where it's kind of like they're folded in half on a bed and they're like, that's somebody taking a picture for like, we're going to post this eventually.
And we've seen it
reacted
like,
to it.
It was in Dick's.
Yes.
I kind of went back and forth with some guy on my personal account, I guess it was, because he was like, is anybody else starting to think that like McKenny and Weah are like joking around with us and are like trolling us, and they're going to be really good because McKenny and Weah have said we've tried to tell them these things suck. And I said, no, at this point, we've seen them in dicks. Like, they are legit. He said, well, I think they're training match tops. I said, they were for $110. I went on to US Soccer website. The training kits right now are on sale for $35, but they're originally listed as $65. So I'm like, even then, like 110 is closer to what a kit is. It's like 90, $100 on US Soccer. Then he's like, well, what did he come back? He's like, I still think they're just training kits, but the price being wrong is why they couldn't sell them. And I said, no, the reason they couldn't sell them is because a lot of these things have street dates on it. When you scan it, I've found movies ahead of time at Target, and I've tried to buy them, and it says do not sell before like August 10th. And then the cashier's like, sorry, it won't even let me do it. Like, I can't. And that's probably the same thing that happened with this, especially it being a high ticket item like a soccer jersey. So in this case, they're pretty. I'd say I'm 99% sure that these are legit. As sad as that is.
Yeah, these are it, and they're so underwhelming. You have every 4 years to really get this right, and well, hell, 8 years because we didn't make the last one. So, but you have a ton of feedback from fans. That's what Twitter's for. Like, what I love, Jordan, is who did it? Was it Hummel, I think, that did vote for the kit that you like. So here are some concepts. Here are some artists. And
Bobcats
we'll use
Hummel, yeah.
Right. And we'll use this template. And okay, Nike, if you really want everybody to look like uniform across the board, like how Nike and them all have their templates, they all want them to look similar, but they're going to throw in different flavor, then just do that. But let the fans create them. Like, they send in submissions. Nike then goes, okay, here's what you guys liked. Now let's vote. What do you like? And that, I think it's the stupidest marketing thing I've ever heard in my life. Like, wouldn't that sell a ton? Like, if you had an overwhelming, the Waldo kits. Did you see the one, Jordan, where it was like, I think you liked it. It was like diagonal.
Oh, it was the sash, which I liked from 2010. Right. But the sash was the red stripes. And I'm like, that is perfect.
Right.
Like, how are they not thinking of this stuff? Look, I want to show Pumas. Did you see Pumas? Joseph Lowry from Backheeled and also on Total Soccer Show. He shared this and said, well, it makes the U.S. kits not look as bad. These are awful. These are so bad. These are so top left is Ghana. I'm having trouble reading the middle one. Ivory Coast, I think, is on the Senegal on the right.
Yeah.
Switzerland, which everybody says looks like the "Hello, my name is" sticker.
It's accurate.
I don't know what's beside them there. Italy looks bad too. It's like the Italy. So what? To explain this to people here, it is the crest in the center with the Puma logo above it, almost like the Manchester City and Dortmund kits for the UEFA kits, the third kits. So it's like that, but then they have all these weird designs on them, but it's all a template. This is a template. It's just a little bit of a different design in the center for each one. And each one has like a center stripe almost, at least the top three do. The bottom right does. This looks bad. Graham Ruthven also shared it on here, but it's
not this hard.
I mean, so that's the thing too, is when we're like, well, it's just Nike. It's not. I want to see what the Adidas ones are going to look like. But the thing about soccer, they're getting all minimalist at times, and then they're also getting all template. And I don't know. At least need some differences other than just like the center crest being different and just like a little bit of some of the design looking there. It's the same basic concept on each of these, and it's just not looking great.
I wonder if they'll have a best dress at the World Cup. Like, it won't be any of these. So, and Puma usually does really well, so I'm kind of shocked that
lately they've been awful. That
the third kits were awful.
The third kits looked like training kits.
Yes, they did.
They had
like a kid's
just
shirt.
the name, no crest, until they had all of the
teams
people complained, and then they ended up putting the crest on each one of those. But all right, that's our World Cup talk. Okay, some MLS news here. We have this came out right before we start recording. Paul Tenorio and Sam Stejskal writing an article for The Athletic. Not going to highlight the whole article here because, people go read it, but I'm going to just share some stuff here. But there's going to be big changes to the MLS homegrown territory rules. So in the current setup, every team has a designated homegrown territory in which they have the MLS rights to every youth player. MLS teams can take players into their academy from the territories of other teams, but the player's home team still holds his MLS rights and can block him from signing a homegrown deal with another MLS club. This is why, Caden Clark had to was in Minnesota. He had to go over to New York because Minnesota didn't have an academy, all this kind of stuff. So here's some of the highlights. Homegrown rights on every player in territory is gone. Teams will have a protected player list at the academy layer. So they're going to be allowed to place up to 54 players on their youth player protected list. 45 of those who would play in their academy, and 9 who are not in their academy but live in the homegrown territory. Those players will not be able to sign a professional deal with another MLS club without the club negotiating a trade for their rights. Players who are rostered to a club's academy but are not on the protected list can move to another club's academy and eventually sign homegrown deals with that club's first team, but the player's new club will have to pay the old club a set amount in order to acquire them. Those amounts have already been determined by the league and are not subject to negotiation. Under the new rules, players who live in an MLS homegrown territory but are neither rostered to an academy or the list will now be able to move freely to MLS clubs based outside of their territory. Teams will not have to pay any compensation to other MLS teams for said players. And there's also set compensation for non-protected academy players to leave. We talked about that. Okay, initial thoughts on that, Logan.
I think interesting just in the fact that I like the protected players idea. Like, I've always liked that. I think football has done that for like different protected players on waiver wires. Baseball definitely does it with some of them, like draft picks and stuff like that. Even though they're not signed, sometimes they can protect some of them. But no, I do like this. I think it it's a progressive step forward. Like, the MLS has done a really good job of that. Like, I think they're very good at working in baby steps and increments to see, okay, this is how we grow the league. This is how we grow the league. This is how we grow the league. I think they've done a phenomenal job of that. And I think it's why it's one of the growing leagues in the United States, is because it doesn't seem like they rush into things too quickly. Like, they could very well right now, Jordan, open up the DP stuff like wide open and make this so uncompetitive, because you would have City Football Group, you'd have Red Bull, you'd have all these like LAFCs buying everything and every DP out there, where like I feel like MLS does a great job of just letting it exist and breathe because they need to. And then, so like this instance where if the player is not on a roster or not protected in the academy or whatever it might be, could you imagine how restricting that would be? Like, going back to the old rule, right? If I'm reading that correctly, where like this team could still technically go, no, you can't have him, but we have no plan in using him. I think that's a huge step, because I mean, that's why I think a lot of these kids probably leave to go overseas when they're so young to the other academies, because that doesn't happen over in these other academies like Barcelona. Like, you see a lot of our youth go there and just kind of fade just because here, I think they're doing a good job. They're protecting the players. They'll be able to eventually give them professional contracts. And then with MLS next, I think that's a big step in progress too, like that academy where all these teams have second clubs and academies, and these academies are growing in size. And then any player that's not signed, really, you don't have those homegrown rights to them, so they can kind of move freely about the country like Southwest Airlines does. So, yeah, no, I'm a fan of this. It helps the youth. It actually, I think, entices, right? It entices youth to stay put here in the United States. Like you don't get frustrated because, like, could you imagine, Jordan, if you grew up in the territory of like Inter Miami, like they own you and their rights or your rights are theirs, and you're stuck, and they're not. They're it's kind of a bad example, I guess, because they're using a lot of youth now, but some of these teams, it's like they're circling the wagon constantly. So,
yeah, I guess we'll wait and see how it works. I think it's good that they'll be able to move around a little bit more freely, because you could be stuck in a academy that is never going to use you, because they either don't use the youth or because you're blocked in a spot. Now you'd be able to move maybe somewhere else. So that's nice. Last thing is a new soccer league was just announced. I'm not sure if you saw this. It's called the National Soccer League. People have been kind of clowning on it the whole time. It's
our site is coming soon.
Yeah, so the club list was loading today or earlier. And they had club names like Liverbirds, named after Liverpool. And they had Galacticos, based off of Real Madrid. And then they had some old, like Tampa Bay Mutiny was going to be in there. They were going to have a whole bunch of like these older team names. Apparently, Scott Michael, Stuart Gallup, Gavin McCann, Mick Patterson, Liam Ridgewell, former Timbers player, Michael Gray, Davina Fettergreen, Rob Burton. Like, these are the people behind it. There's a whole bunch of people. I'm not going to read them all. But not any big names. And apparently they're, like, trying to get money from people about it. I don't know. This is... Apparently they're also trying to get, like, U.S. Open Cup. Right here, NSL in talks to join the U.S. Open Cup. They don't even have any real teams, so I'm not really sure how this is gonna work. They already have a sponsor for Hair Bond. I don't know.
I like this one. NSL. Whoa, NSL to use innovative player camera and audio while playing.
Hello, I am Luis from the National Soccer League. We're delighted to inform you that we are launching our league short.
There's like no date, like when this was posted. So like shortly from when, like, I don't know. This is just a whole weird thing.
I like their pictures too. Like their company pictures on their website are like one's randomly in a basketball game. This guy's up against a wall.
Oh yeah, do you know what this is? Hold on. This is good. Hold on. All right, let me share the screen. What does that remind you of?
I don't know. It looks like home plate. I have no idea. Like,
this is...
Oh, that looks like our extra innings baseball logo.
Yes, it does. It looks like they got... Hold on. Fiverr. I want to see if I have it still. Yeah, it definitely looks like they bought this logo off of Fiverr. I'm trying to locate ours now, because
I'm signed into Fiverr. I can actually pull up.
I tried to download like all of our logos, and I'm trying to just find where that one is. But yeah, I mean, that's pretty much what it looks like. It looks just like oh, okay, here's one. Okay, I found it. It's the same thing. Oh my god, it is literally the same thing. Let me upload this real quick. Hold on. We have to do some investigating here. I'm sorry if you are a
audio.
audio listener, but I just saw this and I'm like, oh my God, this is it. This is the same exact thing.
Oh yeah.
Look at it. So it has like the design
chairs.
on the wall and the chairs, and same thing. Same thing.
Investigative journalism at its best.
And this guy, you know, the guy we bought this from originally, like cost like $5-10.
Yeah.
Like, okay, this is not like they're not spending a whole bunch of money on this brand here. I don't know.
Now, if they want to sponsor us, Jordan, then we'll be listening.
Oh, we'll be the official broadcasters. All right, let's go ahead and hit the games. Let's talk some games here. We had some midweek results. LAFC beat DC United on Tuesday 1-0. Wednesday, Dallas beats the Union 1-0. TFC draw with Revolution 2-2. NYCFC loses to Charlotte 3-1, and the Whitecaps beat the Rapids 2-1. Now let's move to the weekend here, where we have the Galaxy in Seattle finish 3-3. Seattle came back from like 2-0 down to make it 2-2, and then get 3-2 lead, just to have it spoiled by what I thought is a pretty rough penalty call to give Galaxy a chance to equalize. They do. Game over. Saturday, Philly puts another 6 on DC United. 7 the last game, 6 this game. I'm going out on the limb here. I'm saying DC United's done for the season. All right. They haven't won in their last 5. They have 4 losses, a draw. They are now 13 points from a playoff spot with 8 games to go. They're done. Am I being harsh, or this is it? They got to pack it up and get ready for next year, right?
Yeah, I mean, their defense is atrocious, and that's not something you can just fix on a whim. Especially with Wayne Rooney just coming in. So, yeah, I mean, mathematically, I think they could technically still do it, but it would be like, I think, 1 in a million shot. Yeah, they're dead in water. And honestly, Jordan, I mean, SKC's been bad, but I think DC's just planting themselves as a wooden spoon winner too. So
yeah, they're even 8 points just from 13th place with Atlanta. That's how far off they are.
Right.
16 losses on the year. That's pretty bad. Yikes. Yeah, and they're still 4 points off of SKC's. So, yeah, definitely probably wooden spoon contenders here. We also had some Hernan Losada shade as he videoed himself. Uploaded him watching the game on, like, his story or whatever. So that was fun. Carranza has now tied Sebastian Letou and Ilsinho for the most MLS Player of the Week honors in Philadelphia Union history with 2. This is from the MLS PR account, by the way. Which means his half a season with the Union, he has now already got more than Letou, who was the Union's talisman for a while, and Ilsinho, who had been there for a few years. That just goes to show you how many Union players do not get Player of the Week honors, and how much that's changed. And I was talking about it last week, Logan, that this team is just so much better than they have ever been. They're scoring at a pace that is so much more. They're going to pass how many goals they've ever scored in a season. I was reading it up last year. I think it was, let's see, they've scored 51 goals. I think their most ever is like 55. I'm going to look at that again. Can you go ahead and just give me your thoughts on the Union?
I mean, this game had it all. Gazdag, it had Ura, it had Julian Carranza. Like, I mean, if you are Inter Miami, you got to be looking at this going, oh, this was not good. As a team that really struggles to score, and I know they're offloading a lot of assets and pieces just because they're trying to hit a reset, but I mean, they gave him away for a bag of peanuts to the Union. So, I mean, just the fact that he's come in and has played like Jordan, he's all the way up to 12 goals. He's right behind Gazdag, who had 13, and Gazdag like started on fire and it's kind of slowed down since, but like, I mean, he's still racking up goals as well. I mean, that's 25 goals between the two of them. Ura's got 9, and he's had moments where he had been healthy or he, slow start to the season, getting adjusted. I mean, this team is just loaded from top to bottom. You and I talked about this. And then if you go, and when I will always say this, and I know you really do enjoy this, and probably, I mean, it's funny that your two teams are known for this. Their defense, like, how do you score on the Union? Like, you just don't. It is so incredibly hard to score. And now you tack on, like we said, like if they get up 2 goals, I don't see teams beating them. Like, I just don't. Like, it'd be 3-1, 2-0. You just don't come back from that against them. And then they are very difficult to beat at home. They're going to be very difficult to beat in the playoffs. This team is just on a different level, and their depth is a testament to that as well. And they have probably the best coach in MLS. And if he coaches here much longer, they're going to start shouting him for one of the best coaches this league's ever seen. So I don't know. This is going to get interesting because I don't think the East is ready for how big of an impact that this Union team can have this year and in the years to come.
So I found it. 2019, they had 58 goals, which means they need 7 more to tie that, which means they just got to play DC United one more time. And they...
I bet your dad loves this.
But in that season in 2019, they also gave up 50. So they had a goal differential of 8. In 2020, they had a goal differential of 24. And in 2021, they had a goal differential of 13. This season, they have a goal differential of 31, as they've only given up 20 and have scored 51. So here's the sad thing of the way MLS works. It feels like their year probably not going to end up being their year. But this is the best they've ever looked in the 12 years they've existed. So I think they will score another 7 goals in these next 8 games. And absolutely. I think that they can maybe score more than that, and they can have their best season ever. Least amount of goals given up and most amount of goals scored. I think that could be a lot of fun.
I mean, look at the rest of their opponents. You got the Rapids in Atlanta, who I think they can score pretty well on. Orlando City, they play them at home, though, so you guys are out of luck there. If you came down here, you'd score 36, but you're playing there. But and then they play Atlanta, Charlotte, and Toronto's defense has not been stellar. So, I look at that goal differential. My gosh, 31. Oh my goodness! And what's even crazier, Jordan, is
the best in the league.
Yeah, you guys are almost 31 goals allowed. Like, that's your expected goals allowed, 31, and they've only allowed 20, which also speaks to the fact that you have probably the best keeper that's ever played in MLS. So, this team, I'm excited because I think LAFC will be the heavy favorites going into the playoffs, but I think the Union have the best shot to win it if all goes right and they stay healthy.
Oh, man, an LAFC Union final would be so much fun.
Oh, dude, it'd be brilliant.
That would be really fun.
They don't give up goals. Neither of them give up goals, and they score out the years. So,
one of those would give way. Yeah. It's like one of those things would have to.
I take the Union because I just feel like I don't know, man. I just think they're coached. They'd coach better. I think Trundle would have a harder time with Jim Curtin, I think.
I could see that. Red Bulls drew with Cincy 1-1. Montreal beat the Revs 4-0. Miami beat TFC 2-1. Minnesota beat Austin 2-1. Rapids drew with the Dynamo 1-1. RSL with the Whitecaps 1-1. And San Jose beat LAFC 2-1. Those are your Saturday games. Austin still sits second in the West, but now they are 9 points back of LAFC. So I think we're getting to the point where LAFC are going to win the West and the Supporter Shield probably. no problem. They're 6 points up on the Union with a game in hand on Supporter Shield. Sunday, Orlando gets a win. They beat Charlotte pretty late in that match. Was that finish 2-1?
Mm-hmm.
And then Columbus Crew draw with Atlanta 2-2. Chucho Hernandez, Logan, has scored 8 goals in his first 8 matches. Only 4 other players have done that. That's Adama Diamande for LAFC, Juan Pablo Angel for Red Bulls, Gio Savarese, Timbers coach for Red Bulls, and Didier Drogba when he played for Montreal. So this signing is working out pretty darn well for the Crew, who are now in a playoff spot. They have 2 games in hand of some of these teams. They have 1 game in hand of most of the teams. I'm starting to think the Crew are going to be a lock here.
Yeah, I think just the teams below them, looking at them, they just drop too many points. I mean, New England's dropping points when they shouldn't, and getting absolutely throttled. I mean, I don't see them doing it. I think FC Cincinnati has finally run out of just pure, I don't want to say it's luck, but like it went too well. It was going too well for them. Like they don't have quite the talent to sustain that yet. I think it'll get there because I do think Noonan's a great coach. I think it's very Jim Curtin-esque, but they just don't have the players on that roster to kind of make the difference. They don't defend as well as they need to, and that's been their biggest Achilles heel since they've been around. So,
yeah, they were talking about them having the best front 3 in MLS.
What?
I don't know that. The Philly one's so much better, I think.
Well, Philly, LAFC,
Gazdag, and Carranza. But I want to point out something here. Chucho Hernandez already tied for team lead of goals with 8. Lucas Zelarayan is also up there. So just crazy how fast he's come in and just hit the ground, hit the ground running. SKC versus Portland finishes 4-1 for SKC. And I gotta look this up here. I'm gonna pull up their head-to-head here because I feel like they have their number or something. I'm gonna have to pull up this head-to-head real quick. But 4-1 for SKC over the Timbers. Okay. They're actually pretty even. Maybe that's why it felt that way. 8 wins for Kansas City, 7 wins for Timbers. They both had 8 draws. And they each scored 30 goals. Earlier this season, the Timbers thrashed SKC 7-2. Maybe I was just thinking it was a high-scoring game. That's probably what I was thinking.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that is that's crazy how even that is. But SKC, who are 14th in the West, going up against a team that was 10th in the West, and they pull up a huge upset. They also beat Galaxy a few weeks ago 4-2 SKC. So they lost to Austin 4-3. They're starting to score a lot. They're also giving up some goals. They've given up 49 goals and they've scored 30. So it's been a pretty rough, not as bad as DC, which is scored 28, given up 55 with negative 27 goal differential. But they are the second worst goal differential with negative 19.
All right, Jordan, it is August 23rd. We got like roughly 6 to 7 games, depending on who it is, maybe a little bit more if you're lucky. All 3 of the Cascadian region teams are below the playoff line, and Galaxy actually has a couple games in hand on a couple of them.
Mm-hmm.
Is this the year that we see no Cascadian teams in the MLS playoff? And I'd be interested to know that too. I'm sure it would take too much time to figure this out, but has that ever happened that you can remember?
Well, Seattle has made it every year of their existence. So no, there would be
okay.
It could never have happened. They've been 13 straight years.
I didn't know that. No.
So that's what's on the line for them. 13 straight trips to the playoffs. They entered the league in 2009.
Okay.
So that's kind of on the line with it. They are sitting 1 point behind the Galaxy, 3 points behind Nashville, 5 points behind RSL. There's still time, but the time is running out. I talked about that last week. Brian Smetzer said the time is running out. And what happened? Galaxy got a late penalty kick.
Mm-hmm.
It looked really bad for them at first. 2-0 Galaxy lead. You're like, okay, this team is falling apart here. I think they want to keep that playoff streak going, but also they won the Champions League. So it's kind of like, did you make a deal with the devil?
Yeah,
did you make a deal with the devil to get that Champions League?
Yeah,
it seems like it. Their top goal scorer is currently Jordan Morris with 7. Like, they just don't have a lot of goals this year, which is kind of the opposite of typical. They haven't won since August 2nd when they beat Dallas 1-0.
Almost a whole month.
Yeah.
Yikes. That is good, though. Like, we should make a shirt that says, Seattle, did you make a deal with the devil? And have, like, the logo of the CONCACAF Champions League on the back on the head. Like, that would be the devil's head. That's our new merchandise.
With the horns on it.
Yeah.
Nashville beat Dallas 4-0. That was something that they really needed because they were kind of slipping for a bit. That was their first win in their last 5. They drew with Vancouver. They drew with Portland. They lost to Toronto in a high-scoring game. They lost to Minnesota. And here they go. Hani Mukhtar scoring 16 goals this year. He's pretty close, second most in the West, just behind Driussi. So he is starting to get hot here, which is what they need as well. And NYCFC beat Chicago 2-0 back in the East. NYCFC firmly planted in third place right now. They got their first win in a while because they've just been so unsettled since they changed managers. And since Castellanos has left, they just haven't really been able to get it going. But yeah, they beat Chicago. They sit third. They are 6 points behind Philly, 1 point behind Montreal. I think the top 3 is pretty solid. I don't think Red Bull's breaking into that top 3. I think what we're looking at now is a battle for 4th downward.
Yeah, most definitely.
Can go all the way down to 13th with Atlanta having 30 points. Compared to the West, where I really feel like it's starting to get to the point of 11 through 5th through 11th over there is I think what we're looking at now. All right. Any other thoughts on the weekend action, Logan? Anything you wanted to shout out before we take a look ahead to this week?
Sebastian Driussi is leading the Golden Boot race. So not only in the West, but also there. Montreal, Jordy Mihailovic is getting interest from other clubs.
That's right.
So that's worrisome if you're a Montreal fan. However, Romel Kyoto has played extremely well recently. And Jordan, you and I talked about this, how much we love Romel. Was fantastic in their match. Who they played? Was it New England? Yeah, New England. He played really well against New England. I want to go to a game there one time, Jordan, just because
he leads the team with 14 goals too.
Yeah, their atmosphere this weekend, like
Montreal.
I was watching some of that. Yeah, it's bonkers. Like it is so loud inside there. It's one that I want to go to, and then Mercedes as well, just because it seems like it's a difficult place to play. And Jordan, they've got the number 2 spot. I mean, they're going to be jockeying with NYCFC, I think, but I think it's their spot to lose between those two teams. So I mean, Montreal had a bit of a rough patch without Jordy. Jordy's back. This is starting to look really good. Yeah.
Haven't lost in their last 5. Kyoto, by the way, is just 1 goal shy of Vasquez, and that means he is second most in the Eastern Conference.
Yeah, he's caught fire, and so has Montreal. So the fact that, I mean, we were sitting here talking about, man, without Jordy, they're just a ghost of themselves. And now that he's back and healthy and they finally got that system going again, I mean, this team, for 2 years straight now, like last year, they kind of tumbled at the end. This team's starting to play really well. And honestly, I think it's because this new branding stuff, they're just like, I mean, let's finally just get a brand that we all agree with so we can play well.
Can't wait till they actually wear it. But,
right, exactly.
Yeah, you got to commend them. They're a team that don't spend a lot of money also. And it's just really interesting seeing the top 2 teams in the East are teams that don't spend.
Right.
Looking at the Western Conference, the top 2 teams are the teams that spend.
Yeah.
Just the contrast between the Eastern Conference and the Western Conference, really. This would be a really great season for Montreal to finish second. They would be, I think, legitimate MLS Cup finalists.
Yeah.
I'm not going to say contenders. I'm not sure if they could win it. I mean, anything's possible, but I think they could win the East in a playoff setting. No doubt about it.
They're just fun to watch. Their like offense is just so much fun. Like it's a fun because they don't defend extremely well. Like they're just not great.
We got 41 goals.
One of the worst, yeah. So, but man, they just score and they get goals when they need to. I mean, it really does come down to that. Like it feels like they're always in these close games, and when they need to pull them out, they pull them out. So, yeah, I'm looking forward to it because the East is pretty much wide open after that number 1 spot, to be honest with you. Once the playoffs start, I feel like the Union are the team to beat. And then after that, you could throw a dart at the board and you might hit Columbus Crew, who's going to maybe finish 7th, could be the second best team in the East for all we know right now.
And you know what? If they win MLS Cup, I would really compare them to Seattle getting Ladero. Getting Chicho in and it turning around that quick is pretty amazing. All right, let's hit up these Game of the Week.
It's time for the Match of the Week preview.
Match of the Week preview is where we tell you what game you should watch. Well, we got an ESPN doubleheader on Friday. Austin hosting LAFC in what is going to be a pretty big game. But what is also a very important game, Logan, is 10 o'clock Portland hosting Seattle on ESPN. That's a playoff spot there. Saturday on TUDN, Twitter, and Univision, we have Minnesota hosting Houston at 3:30, Charlotte hosting Toronto at 7, Red Bulls hosting Miami at 7, Cincy hosting Columbus at 7:30, Philly hosting the Rapids at 7:30, Chicago hosting Montreal at 8 o'clock, SKC hosting San Jose at 8:30, Dallas hosting RSL at 9, Vancouver hosting Nashville at 10, and on Sunday on Univision, TUDN, and Twitter, we have Atlanta hosting DC at 4 o'clock, Orlando hosting New York City FC at 7:30 on FS1, and the Revs hosting the Galaxy at 8 o'clock. Go ahead and make your pick first.
Gosh, this is last time. I think the last time was on not last week, but the week before. They were the worst games. It was like, good, it's awful. This one, it's almost like there's honorable mention after honorable mention.
Yeah.
Okay, this is tough because I always feel bad if I take the one that you want. But I mean, I'm going to go with the glaringly obvious one. I'm going to go with Austin and LAFC for the battle of that top of the West. Just because, I mean, here's Austin, Jordan, a team that we didn't think really stood much of a chance. We thought they got better, right? We thought maybe the playoffs if they were good enough. I mean, this team is, if LAFC wasn't, yeah, there you go, 13th. If LAFC wasn't so good, like, dang, man, like Austin would be like flying past them. But LAFC, it just seems like every time they get a chance to gain points, they do. And then if Austin drops them, it's just a disaster. LAFC, Jordan, is really good at home, but going to Q2 on the road, they're good. They're good away team, but I just don't know if they can beat Austin in that place, in that atmosphere. This could inch them a little closer to them. I just don't see them catching them. I just don't see that being realistic. But again, two of the best goal scorers, right? So it should be interesting just to kind of see what Austin does. DeRussi's tearing down, trying to get to that 20 mark. I think if he gets that 20 mark, he wins the Golden Boot. So I don't know. It'll be interesting to kind of see how Austin play against LAFC. They are the big brothers of the conference. Can they compete with them? Can they defend LAFC's really strong attack? Does Gareth Bale go nuts? Who knows at this point? So it doesn't seem like he's capable of that, but we'll see.
Yeah, I'm going to have to go with what I would say. When you said the glaringly obvious, I thought you were going with this one. I have to go with Timbers Seattle. from where they sit in a playoff spot, how close they are in this table. The fact that Seattle's playoff history record is on the line here. They both have 33 points. They're separated by one position, Seattle in 9th, Portland in 10th. If one of them win this game, it could catapult them to 6th or 7th place, depending on other results. If they both draw, they're going to be in some real trouble as we get closer to the end of the season here. I think one of them needs to win this. Logan, now, if I were to ask you who has the upper hand in this matchup historically, do you know the answer to that?
I would say Portland does.
Yes, 16 wins, 14 losses, 7 draws for the Timbers. But Timbers have scored 58 goals, and Seattle scored 61 in this matchup. Earlier this season, Timbers beat them 3-0, and that was at Lumen Field. They're going to be at Providence Park. Could it be even worse for Seattle going forward? I just know my Golden Boot winner is not going to be the Golden Boot winner. That's all I know. For people that don't know, I picked Raul Ruiz-Diaz at the beginning of the season. Not going well for me there. But I think that is the biggest match, because while I do think Austin LAFC is fun, I really am counting Austin out. There's no way they can get top of the West. So I am feeling pretty confident that it's going to be the best matchup is going to be Seattle-Portland. Now, also, the MLS website has LAFC already clinching a playoff spot. So that's pretty interesting. They're the only team that's clinched a playoff spot so far. Not that that'll change their mentality. Just kind of interesting that we already have a team that's clinched with this much time to go.
Yeah, 9, 8, 7. I hate this. I hate when they're all like jumbled up. Like you have 25, you have 28. It's like, can you guys just play the right amount of games? I think we avoid that next year, right, with the new schedule. So
hopefully, I think so. I think it should be that way. But yeah, they've played 26, which means that they have 8 games to go because they play 34. All right. Well, if you want to follow us on all of our platforms, we're at Stateside Show. I put up my RSL video, which actually got some good traction on there. I'm working on my Red Bull video before I upload that. It's just, we call it the Stateside Soccer Stadium Tour, which is where I'm going to different stadiums and taking video, making little videos about my time there, like a vlog type of thing. Logan, where can people watch your vlogs?
Yeah, so I'm actually doing Disney vlogs over at We Met Behind the Castle. So if you are listening and you like Disney content, Universal content, anything in Central Florida, subscribe over there at We Met Behind the Castle. It helps me out tremendously, and I'm getting pretty good traction over there. So, and between watching soccer and Disney parks and all these other things, I'm pretty busy now. So I've joined Jordan in the amount of things that I can stack on my plate at once.
Yeah, I feel your sympathy there. I've done it.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, I just want to thank everyone for listening, and we will see you all next time.
Like the phenom guy, right? He's like the LeBron James of soccer.
Brendan Aaronson, yep.
Yep.